This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
What is up, everyone? Welcome to episode 173 of Lords of the Storm, a Heroes of the Storm podcast. My name is Greg Gizmozord Parker, and I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multizord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader. And on this week's episode, Season 3 of Ranked Play approaches, and we've got the deets. The Heroes team continues their strong skin game. The snow in Alterac Valley has actually gotten a change. It's gone from wet snow to a powder snow.
Oh, interesting. So it's less snowbally now.
Because you can't make snowballs out of powder snow.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another
Very
meme,
good analogy.
another meme dies, and we finally discuss Urel for this week's Hero of the Week. And it's going to be an interesting one. Because I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know, but I don't know. If you know what I'm saying.
After all this time, and you don't know, but you know.
Yes.
Or do you know?
Mhm.
I don't really know if you know.
Yeah.
I have
Based on what you just
opinions.
said.
Yeah.
I do too.
That's, yes. Having opinions. We can do that.
And honestly, I'm glad we waited this time too, because I mean, historically speaking, we would do these the week after it goes live. But I mean, I do think with Urel we needed a little bit of extra time, and we needed that buff to come as well to fully have the chat, and we've got the time to do this kind of thing. And I've got dogs barking in the background, if you can hear that.
They're so excited.
I think I still have some neighbors. So by the way, we're recording this the Thursday after. And I know, Gizmo, you said you're hearing some fireworks in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing my dogs are too. So if you guys like fireworks or dogs, this is the show for you.
Yeah, it's perfect. Well,
Number one firework dog show.
Yes.
how are you both doing this Thursday, TBK?
It feels weird because it's not Wednesday.
Yeah.
Usually I spend a lot of today like advertising the show stuff and putting things up and whatnot, and we're talking about it. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling.
It is.
Like Wednesday is like our thing, and so I don't know. I feel displaced
Okay.
because holidays, but we'll get over it. It did allow me to release something really cool earlier in the day that we'll talk about a little later. So I'm very excited about that.
Excellent.
And the PTR and Urel and Heroes of the Storm.
All the things.
All
Right.
the things.
And what have you been
And
up
wow.
to? What have you been up to in gaming this week?
Maybe a little bit of WoW.
That's right.
Yeah.
Getting that mage tower done.
Yeah, no, this has been I've definitely split my gaming time between Heroes and WoW this week, because as many people know, the Legion expansion is wrapping up. We've only got 5 or 6 weeks left before the new Battle for Azeroth expansion comes out. So, like many other people, I'm jumping on and finishing up some last minute things, especially things that are going to go away completely with the expansion. And so this has actually been a really good week because I finished my Guardian Druid Mage Tower,
Oh yeah.
which was the only one I hadn't done yet. And so I finally got that done, which was awesome. I randomly got Invincible.
Yep, saw that.
Right. Yeah, I did
So
see
that was really cool. It's only taken me 9 years, so don't give up, guys.
That's Arthas's mount for you guys who don't know.
Draws from ice ground.
It's not that he's actually invincible in game now.
Unfortunately,
I guess you can be with the bubble.
But if he's invincible, how do you know you got it? I appreciate that one firework. That was like the crickets instead. It was just a firework.
And I did get my bird from my heroic run Tuesday. So I'm pretty much gotten all the stuff that I wanted to get. I'm leveling my prop pally to see if I can get it in time for the Mage Tower to get that cool little like Johanna mace and shield
Yep,
or
that's a cool one.
flail and shield set, because that's the only other
yeah.
one that I could remotely see myself as like, I really need to have that because it's so unique. Got a lot of Urel play in. Got a few more Team League games done. I'm going to try and finish that up probably on Saturday, because I always want to make sure you get your for those of you who want it, always make sure to get your 10 Team League placements in, because that's what gets you your mount.
Right.
So make sure you don't have much longer.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming up quick.
Yep. Multi, how are you doing this evening, and what have you been up to in gaming this last week?
Doing quite well. Before I get into that, I'll tack on to TBK's point there at the end there too, in just saying that near the end of the season, if you guys haven't really seen this happen before, there seems to be an uptick of people that are putting together just random pug groups for team leagues. So, hop in there. I think the general channel does that a lot. I would encourage people to use like the Lots channel and some others to find people to get some of those games in. I would encourage no one to purchase dogs. That's a bad idea. No, just kidding. I love my dogs, and we didn't purchase them. We adopted them. But anyway, okay. What was I doing? Oh yeah. So yeah, I've been playing some heroes for sure. I'm trying to get Urel down a bit. But yeah, I'm with you, TBK. I've been in WoW a bit as well. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm leveling this hunter named Alpaca Zord after our good friend Mr. Jennington. And because I have learned that there's an alpaca model within the game, and Beastmaster hunters can use 2 pets in combat and presumably also ride on a mount that's another alpaca. So there's the chance I could ride into battle on an alpaca and then sick 2 alpacas on people. And I'm all in on this. I'm level 50 now on my Nightborn.
That sounds pretty epic, and I support that
Yep.
100%.
So I've been doing that, but yeah, I did get the kitty, the feral druid mage tower down before the change, actually. So before I get the free empowerment of my weapon, and but yeah, I'm gonna do the others just to say I did them essentially.
Nice. Very cool. Well, for me, it's been a lot of heroes still. It's been a rough past like week and a half, 2 weeks in Hero League. It's been an emotional roller coaster. I dropped back down to gold. I got really close to plat 3, and then I dropped back down to gold, and then back up to plat, and then back down to gold, and back up to plat, and now I'm on a demotion match again to go back down to gold. So very exciting times there.
Yes.
I haven't decided what I'm going to try and do for the rest of this season yet. But I've also been playing WoW. Imagine that. I finally used my boost and boosted
What'd you boost?
a druid.
Okay, cool. Join the Druid Club. We're all Druids now.
I boosted a Resto Druid because I think I want to try maining Resto the next expansion.
That's a good idea that I had too.
But I did some questing and stuff. I went and got my Guardian weapon as well, and then did the quest line to get the empowerment for that, because I guess you only get the free empowerment for whatever you initially get or something, your initial artifact weapon, because I still had to do the quest line for the bear thing. But then I hopped into the mage tower on my bear at item level 855, and I lasted about 10 seconds.
All right.
So we'll see.
It's one of the few things I think that they made super hard and engaging for a solo play.
Yeah,
it's really
probably in the history of the game.
It's genuinely one of the more interesting things they've done. It's a little easier to clear if you're a little higher eye level for sure, and you buy the consumables and all that stuff. But yeah, I want them to continue that approach of just having at least one really interesting solo player PvE thing that you can do.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's plans for that in BFA or if you guys have heard anything, but just a cool idea.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of cool WoW podcasts
there
that we
is.
could point you to that would probably talk about it.
Yes.
But I'm not going to stress myself out about it. Like, it would be cool to get it. I know we had this discussion, I don't remember when, about really Guardian Druid's the only one I I think a lot of people care about, because that actually changes the form of the bear,
Right.
to whereas
Yep.
any other weapon you have doesn't do that. And there's going to be plenty of weapons in the next expansion, so I don't really care about one transmog weapon on most, except for the prop pally as well, because it's a flail and it's cool. So yeah, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it
You could
doesn't.
literally be Johanna.
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
Just get your blood elf going, or your human going, or
You can't get the haircut though, can you?
They
Is
need to
there,
add it
there's
in.
no race that
no,
can
I
do
don't
the
think there's
haircut.
any race that has the haircut.
They should add
Which
it
is
in.
too bad. So WoW team, we know you're listening.
Yeah, add it
Since
undercuts.
this
They're hip.
became a WoW podcast for the first 5 minutes.
They're cool.
Yes.
Add it.
But off of WoW and Heroes, I did a great job. I did a good thing this year. Completely forgot about the Steam Summer Sale until yesterday. But I only bought 2 things. I bought Ori and the Blind Forest, which I've been wanting to play for a really long time, and I started to play through on that. And then Dead by Daylight, which I've heard good things about, but I haven't played it yet. So, but yeah, and a lot of URL this week for obvious reasons, because we're going to be talking about her. Let's go ahead and get on into the news and back on track into Heroes of the Storm. All right, first up, Season 3 is coming. It is going to begin the week of July 9th, so I believe that is July 11th is when it will start. And it will be going through the week of September 24th, so to September 26th, which is good.
So when we said you don't have much time to finish, we really meant we don't have
You
much time to
Could not
finish.
have meant it more.
But this is coming with a lot of updates that we've kind of gone over before with all the AMAs they had and stuff on things they were wanting to change. So this season is coming with the 3rd ban during drafts, which is going to make things very interesting, I think. So you're going to need to expand your hero pool. You wouldn't think that only 2 more bans in total would make you need to do that as much, but I think it's going to. I think you're going to see a lot of variance.
It's also going to increase what you need to play Hero League from 14 to 16.
Yes, that as well.
Right.
So I'm really excited for that. MMR and rank decay is also coming, but that's only going to be for Diamond Master and Grandmaster League hero players. And the time for that decay to start is going to vary with whatever rank you are as well in those respective ranks. They are changing how placement matches handle new and returning players. Players who enter ranked play for the first time can no longer be seeded into placement matches higher than Gold 5. Players who return to Hero League after an extended break will no longer be reseeded during placement games based on their performance in other modes. So that means no more trying to rework the system to where if you were, bronze, silver, gold, or whatever, and you stop playing for a couple seasons just to boost your MMR in quick match or unranked so that you'd get placed higher, that's not going to work anymore.
You wonder how many people are out there trying to finish up their Smurf accounts right now, because I did run into a guy, a listener, doing that. I mean, I'm not throwing any shade. That's your prerogative. You do what you like to do. I'd shout him out if I knew his regular account's name, but I don't think I caught that. But I mean, it was a good game. So yeah, it is interesting that this is a move away from that kind of thing. But kind of like I said, I've got to think there are some people as we speak, for these next 4 days or so, however long it is, they're going to be at least trying that.
Yeah. And then as well, the ranked matchmaking match quality improvements, where they are going to be hardening Hero League matchmaking rules to enforce higher quality matches over reducing queue times.
So before we move on from this, I'm really curious because I'm gonna look this up. They released the huge blog post. What was it? Probably a month or 2 ago now, detailing all the new changes that were coming. And one of the new changes they talked about was new quick matchmaking rules, where you'd always have to have a tank and you always have to have a healer. Interestingly, if I recall correctly, they said that was coming in the near future. And we
Right.
still have yet to see that or hear about that in this latest post. And so for the longest time, I assumed initially that they'd announce it a week or two after and put that into effect after that blog post. Didn't happen. So then I was like, they'll probably just release it when the new ranked season starts, because that makes sense, right? But as of now, as far as I know, there has not been any mention as to when those new quick match rules are coming in.
Those I thought,
And I want to know where they are, because dear Lord, we need it badly.
Well, I mean, this announcement is specifically talking about ranked dates, rewards, changes, etc. And quick match isn't ranked, so I could see why they wouldn't address it in this specific blog post. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. That's definitely a change we're looking for.
well, I thought that was on the list of up and coming stuff, but I thought that was towards like the bottom of that list. So not like immediately, but in the works.
I'll see if I can find the old blog post.
Yeah, because I
while
thought
we
that
go
was
through
down
this
there.
to see if I can find the wording, because that is like the mode 50+% of people play as their main mode.
But I didn't think
Right.
that could come in until they addressed the roles. Because they
I don't
wanted,
think so.
Because
I mean,
they wanted
they're
to,
basically doing it.
no, because they wanted to make sure that there was actually going to be tanks and supports,
That would
and
make
variant
sense.
stuff.
I'll find
Yeah,
That would totally make sense, though,
but
for them to wait for the rules.
the thing I was missing out on this that I thought was coming into this season is not the performance-based matchmaking, which initially I believe they did say was going to be this next season, but it's not, and I'm not salty about it at all. It's okay, Blizzard. Just take your time with it. I don't really want that at all. But
remember, they did say, and this was from the other blog too, so I really need to find it, but they would be turning it on in a soft
Yes.
mode so that you
that's-
could see what it did,
that just makes
Without
it more
but it wouldn't
frustrating.
actually affect you.
That
Yeah,
just
if
makes
I
it more
recall.
frustrating. But
And yet, no mention of that in this blog post either. So, very interesting.
I thought, and maybe this is included into, well, no, this wouldn't be included into changes how placement matches handle new and returning players. I thought have the amount of placement games that you had to play, I thought that was coming in this season as well. To where if you played enough games, you may only have to play like 2 or 3 placement matches before getting seeded again.
See, I thought so too. Very strange.
But stuff happens in development, things break, and again, we don't know we can't remember what was specifically said. But if it was specifically said, and we do find that, this is something where they need to watch out and not do the thing that they have done like 2 times now, and then come out with apology posts about it, and that is keep people in the loop and not just ignore it, because that's where the past 2 big AMAs and stuff they've had have stemmed from them being quiet.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that they kept us in the loop in the first place is great. Like,
It is.
even if they're announcing all these features and then it just doesn't make it into this update, I don't even think you necessarily need an apology. You know, I mean, it's like you said. I mean, stuff can happen when you're developing it. It's possible that they tested some of these features and they were buggy, kind of like the personal-based MMR was when it first rolled out, and then decided not to roll out a buggy feature. I mean, I don't think anyone would disagree with that strategy necessarily. But the one question is, would not informing us about these things in the first place have benefited them, because then we wouldn't be having this conversation? And to that I say no. I mean, I like that we know their direction. I love that AMA that they did where they laid out a lot of their priorities and the direction they're taking a lot of these features. And I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but my only complaint is what you just said, in that if they're keeping quiet about it now, it is kind of weird.
Yeah, and I didn't mean an apology for those features not being in here.
I
just meant because they keep saying that they are going to keep us in the loop.
I found
then
it.
Not. Yes. Okay. What is it?
I found it. Okay, so this was the blog post from April 12th. And it has a section on performance-based matchmaking. It's a system we introduced late last year, which aimed to improve MMR accuracy by taking your individual performance into account. Release, of course, coincided with unrelated issues that occurred during the new rank season. As a result, they disabled it so they could fix it. While it was active, we absorbed your feedback, took notes. When we bring the feature back, we intend to add additional context on how point adjustments are determined. This should help you better understand how you're performing and where you can improve. We also received feedback that the performance-based matchmaking isn't as effective at the highest levels of ranked play, and so they're not going to have it for Grandmaster and Master League players. And they did say, though we disabled the system to adjust players' rank points, it has continued to gather live player data and improve upon itself over time. We believe it is ready to be turned back on soon, and we'll have more details to share with you in the coming future.
That one,
Okay, so
that was
that's soon TM.
That was after the AMA, though. The one I'm talking about was a response to their AMA, to where they had the list of features and when they thought they were going to come out, and they were saying that they hoped performance-based matchmaking initially was going to be ready for Season 3, which then that came after and
I'm
stuff.
sure they hoped that.
Yeah, but that got me really excited. But
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I actually found the AMA, and the AMA is where the quick match stuff was actually addressed. So somebody asked, what the take on quick match is, and they said quick match is still our most popular game mode by far. We don't think the right move is to shunt it aside. We'd rather improve upon it. The problem is the team compositions rarely feel balanced or competitive. On the blog post we posted yesterday, we discussed making a shift away from focusing on getting players into matches quickly and instead focus on better quality. That absolutely is applicable to quick match and serves as the plan of action. The first improvement we're going to make is strict enforced role composition for the matchmaker. A team will not be constructed without a balanced team composition. This means assassins or specialists may potentially have longer queue times, while some tank-capable warriors and healers may have shorter ones. And then they followed up on that with someone asking, every quick match team will at some point in the future have at least one tank warrior, and at least one full hero with 3 flex picks. Am I reading this right? And they said, our current thinking is that we'd have 1 tank warrior, 1 healer, 1 assassin, and 2 flex picks. Pending testing and queues not erupting into molten lava. Yes. I think it is initially will be the new standard for the vast majority of quick match compositions. The plan is to then follow up on this change by adding more incentives for queuing as roles that are currently underrepresented in the matchmaking queue, which will then make this a hard requirement for every team. And then to kind of even follow up on that, beyond the new role system, they said they're currently leaning to keep the first 6, get rid of the specialist category, change the support stuff. But they actually talk about how with the new role system is going to come after the matchmaking and ranked changes.
Oh, okay.
Which seems to imply that the quick match stuff should be coming before the new role system. So
gotcha.
it looks, unless there's another place that I didn't find, it doesn't look like they provided a timetable for it, but I would assume it would be coming sometime soon, especially with the matchmaking stuff they're doing with Hero League, because it is very much needed.
Yeah.
And I would like to see that sooner rather than later.
There was one post on that Reddit they did. We don't need to look for it, but they did give us, I remember it was just like, here's a short map, like a roadmap of what we're hoping to release and kind of the order in.
Right.
Which I wish I remembered, but it's okay. Anyways, back into the rank stuff. As far as season rewards, you got your typical portraits, Hero League portraits, Team League portraits. You'll get your gold. You can get gold. And then the mounts. And the mounts this time are pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, actually.
It's just a drawing so far, which they did, I believe, with the trike as well. But it's like a cyber robot
Gazelle.
Gazelle.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like a gazelle.
If you guys haven't seen this yet, definitely we'll have the link in the show notes. But yeah, it looks like a gazelle.
It's a gazelle.
But it's interesting because it appears to be a new model. I mean, the ones that kind of drive me crazy with the ranked season rewards are the ones that are just like, oh, it's another Kodo, but this one's elemental. This looks different.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the color schemes.
Yeah.
They've gone away from. We've moved from the elemental and gone to like the cyber robot mounts. We had the unicorn, and now we
thumbs up
got
for
the
me.
yeah. For we can do this for a few more seasons, and then we'll probably need to rotate something else. But for now, they're dope.
If you want to do alpacas next, totally.
Yeah.
In fact, if you could come out with a hero that could ride an alpaca and then also have 2 pets that are alpacas, that's a good Rexar skin right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Alpaca
Oh, yeah.
Rexar. Greg, I did find the post you were
You
wondering
did
about.
okay.
So this was from Alan. And he says, here's the info in terms of timing order of stuff. New toxicity report validation system. This already went in.
Yep.
So that's actually live. Matchmaking improvements then is the next. Since the majority of these are server-side, we're going to be rolling these out independently of normal client patches. Some will come quicker than others. For example, we're going to try and get the hardening of rules to favor match quality more than queue time in the near term. So there has not been any movement on their end as far as releasing any updates about the quick match stuff.
But
which we were
they're
talking about.
saying
now.
that it's incremental, doesn't have to be tied to a patch.
But they
So-
would announce something like that when it happened.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
What
yeah,
I'm saying
but
is
I mean,
this hasn't happened yet.
Well, it did
right.
for ranked. The hardening of rules for matchmaking and ranked. Now
It's
just
coming.
Yes.
That is coming. So that part of it will be coming with the season roll.
yeah. But that's
and
my
then-
point, is that those can roll out separately.
Exactly,
And that's
yeah.
still following his plan. Yeah.
Then they have loss forgiveness / improved lever punishments. They said lined up to come out and patch in the next couple months, which could still be on the roadmap because I don't recall in the ranked blog seeing anything about the improved lever punishments or the loss forgiveness yet. And then ranked improvements, which are coming out next week.
Yep.
And then here's the performance-based matchmaking thing. Wrapping up the improvements we discussed in the blog, planning to reintroduce the system also with the next season roll. So at least at the time of the AMA, they're planning on reintroducing the season with the season roll. We may initially introduce this as a purely informational system and then turn on the actual point adjustments after the community has time to provide feedback. If we do that, it technically doesn't need to align exactly with the season roll.
Okay. So
So it'll
still
be
on
interesting
track
to see if there is some sort of like read-only type performance-based matchmaking that comes with next season too.
then. Yeah. For sure. Well, yeah, some good stuff to look forward to here for this next rank season, and some stuff to keep our eye out for. But moving on here, we got our newest in development video, and holy crap, I don't know what happened to whatever team's in charge of the cosmetic stuff and the skins, but they have been killing it this year.
So freaking good.
That I almost like this is an unhealthy pace for that team, because
Unhealthy for my wallet.
that, and it's
I'm
like
sure that's the plan.
at some point, we're gonna have to get these skins that are announced, and we're just gonna be like, oh. Like, because we've gotten so much good stuff. Like, it could be a super sweet skin to where, like, prior to this insane chain that we've gotten, where we would have been like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, and now it's gonna be like, it's okay, it's okay.
I feel like this has something to do with them switching to this new mini content drop model.
Yeah,
I was thinking that too, actually, because I mean, they with the slower hero release pace, this fits in a little bit better, because this is something kind of reminds me of like the Dark Nexus and a couple of the others they've done, where we know we're going to be waiting a little bit longer for the heroes, sure, but there's this content patch with some new skins and some new flavorful stuff going on there. So I think it works. What about you guys?
it does make sense, because if you think about it from a design standpoint, it can be. I imagine it can be easier and harder in some ways to just be like, okay, who needs a skin? okay, this person. All right, now let me try and think of a really cool skin to create for this person. That this hero. That might be easy in some situations, but in other situations be really hard. To whereas now they're coming out with these themes, to where it's multiple heroes getting themed skins. That actually might make it a little easier because that gives them a reference point to go off of for multiple heroes instead of just trying to come up with one cool thing for one hero. Which
Could
makes
be.
sense
I'm
in the
sure
past
they're
too.
creative enough to come up with
No, well, yeah,
cool individual ideas, but the package deals are, again, it can be pretty fun. Yeah.
and so I do think that's helping, but they're cool. So the stuff we have coming out here is the War Chrome Wastes kind of theme pack, and it's Mad Max. So
It was kind of teased with the War Chrome Garage
yes,
almost.
which
Yeah, in a way.
yeah. So he was in the in development video, and it is very much along those lines here. The 2 or 3, I guess, skins. There's gonna be 2 legendaries. We're gonna get a Asmodan, which is dope. Where was his name? His name was just on here. Now I don't.
It's the Urgot version.
Yeah, but I saw the names of the. I don't know. Anyways, it's like a kind of Urgot-ish. I imagine when he's mounting up, he has those
Dominus
cool treads.
Vial.
That's good.
Hazardous
it,
Vial and Machinist Vial. Those are the 3 different color names.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's Vial Asmodan, basically.
Yes. Which is super cool. And then there is Nazebo, which is super cool. He has a stoplight, traffic light for his little crotch thing. No one knows what it is, but it swings around real awkwardly.
His loincloth.
I imagine with this, they're actually going to have fixed those really weird physics that happen with his base skin. Because as everyone knows,
I think a stoplight would be less flexible.
yes, the base skin
Right.
is oddly shaped and it bends in weird ways. This one I don't think is going to be that flexible, so the whole thing may swing and we won't see a weird tip thing going on.
You know, I have been told that about myself so many times. Oddly shaped and bends in weird ways. Like that's great. But yeah, no, I still like the skin. I don't think I could ever take it over Ginger Dread. That's just all there is to it.
He has flames coming out of his head.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And the animations are different, right? Like I don't think I've seen everything, but I mean the in-dev video showed a couple, like Asmodan lobbing some sort of looked like a ball of mech junk, perhaps. And then I don't know.
I mean,
sure
they're
they did a bunch of
legendary, so I assume a lot of the stuff is probably unique.
yeah,
Zombie wall is probably different.
I'm wondering what his spiders and toads are going to be. What they're going to
Right,
look
yeah.
like. Those will be cool.
That's the kind of stuff that could sell me there. So we'll see.
But yeah, that's a cool skin. And then we have an epic skin, which is my personal favorite, and it's a Raynor like Ghost Rider skin.
Yeah.
Like mech ghost, or like Mad Max Ghost Rider. skin. There we go.
Roadraider Raynor.
Yeah.
Is that the name of it?
That's the name of it. Roadraider Raynor.
That's-
And then
I'm
there's
getting it just for that.
a ghostly Roadraider Raynor. Say that 3 times fast.
Ghostly Roadraider Raynor.
Raynor.
Once is enough for me.
No, yeah, I'm with you though, Gizmo, because this just looks really good for an epic skin.
It does.
I don't think we've had many epics that are usually an epic comes out and it's interesting, but sometimes it's just like a cool new tint to something. This is a lot of work for an epic.
Yeah, they've been
Definitely worth whatever it's going to be.
epic quality has definitely been coming up because like even with the next Mania stuff, like the Diablo skin was epic.
Yeah, that's
and
true. That's true.
Karazim. So those are cool. And then of course the Eldorado mount, which is a flaming cow skull motorcycle that goes with the Raynor skin, and it could go with the Nazebo skin as well. So
Really, any of them?
Yeah.
Asmodan's too fat.
yeah, he can't ride it.
No.
It would be cool is if he could ride 2 of them.
Yeah.
Like there's one on each side, and it was just like sitting on top.
His
I dig
giant legs are just straddling the 2 of them somehow. Yeah.
Yes.
Probably hard to animate, but I'm all for it.
So I am looking forward to those. And then, of course, there's some portraits and then some additional skins that are just new skin tints. Those will be rare for heroes like Arthas, Gul'dan, ETC, and Samuro. Arthas is getting one of
Arthas
those
ones
cool
are cool.
Nephilim. The Nephilim, is it just called Nephilim skin? I don't know, but it's like the black and orange.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, as they talked about in their blog, and as was done with this last drop, all the skins will have individual bundles, which is awesome, and I love that they changed it to that.
Yeah, so there will be the Raiders of War Chrome bundle that comes with everything, then Indominus Val Asmodan, Diesel Speaker Nazebo, and then the Roadraider Raynor. And
Roadraider Raynor.
we have our new gem mount for purchasing gems in the store. It is going to be a Celestial Belly mount. So,
Yep. I have said privately that I'm more excited for Celestial Billy than all of this combined, and it is true. I will now say that publicly. This thing, I don't know. I like the Celestial mounts just in general more than I should, maybe, because I just like how the animation continues to do its thing regardless of where you're facing or how you're moving. And I've always liked Wonder Billy, so this is.
Would you say it's full of stars?
It's very star filled.
Yep.
Starful? Is that a word?
One
Sure.
might say that.
Yeah, sure.
They might.
What?
I said one might say that. They might.
One might not be correct in saying that. I don't think that's a word, but one might say it.
Up next here, Alterac Pass has received some balance changes. It apparently was a little bit too snowbally, which I haven't played enough games on it to where I was still questioning whether it was or not, because there's games that were really snowbally, but then there was games where I had really great comebacks. But apparently,
it had the potential to be very snowbally.
Yeah.
I think would probably be the better way to say it.
that's a good way to say it. So they've made some changes here to try and help alleviate that. To the generals, they reduced health from 24,000 to 20,000, but they're now going to gain 405 maximum health every minute until minute 21. So excluding the first minute though. So they'll actually be more powerful late game, but less powerful early game. Cavalry are getting some changes. Probably the biggest nerfs of the map so far. They will no longer gain additional armor for every nearby hero, or 4 nearby heroes, which
That's huge.
I honestly didn't even know that was a thing. So that's cool. Health has been reduced from 10,000 to 8,000. Health scaling increased by 19%. Damage reduced from 85 to 65, and damage scaling increased by 22%. And then the Reaver minions, which are the replacements for catapults on that map, the damage scaling has been increased by 50%. I think some good changes there.
Yeah, interestingly, they're saying in the developer comments that the change to the generals is so that Vandar and Drekthar won't be demolished as quickly by late game heroes that have outscaled them and reduced their armor. So it must have been something to do with if you had cleared enough to take their armor down, people were just, I guess, bursting them down quicker than they should have, and thus the scaling change there.
I think so. The mid to late game push, if you got in, you could probably just kill them
Just
too
finish
fast.
it.
It seemed like there were never any situations to where if you engaged it, it wasn't going down.
Right, which can feel snowbally, because if you win just off that, even with just like a 2-level lead or something, it doesn't seem like a snowball in the traditional sense. But to me, the definition of a snowball is in part that the losing team just doesn't feel like they could have done anything. And if they're changing that, that would be one fewer situation like that.
Yeah. So overall, good changes there. We'll keep our eye out, and I know there's been a lot of people still complaining. This has it been a week? No, it's been 2 weeks since the map's been in quick match that still just aren't getting to play that map very often, which is unfortunate. So
yeah, I really like that map a lot.
I was kind of hoping in those changes to, that they were going to say something about bumping up the weight of getting that map, but apparently they've been getting the numbers.
I still haven't felt like I've played it enough.
So. Yeah, I think I've played it 4 or 5 times, but again, I haven't been playing a ton of quick match lately, so who knows. Um, it's we need a moment of silence here for this next part. For the death of a meme. It had a wonderful ride, but the time has come, and that is with the rework of Raynor.
I actually never thought I'd hear you say those words.
I know, it's
I
like the end of an
really
era.
It's
I don't think it would come.
yeah, it's one of it's one of those things. It's just mixed feelings. It's like I'm super happy about it, but at the same time, it's like I don't even know what I want for the future anymore. It's like
No.
where do I go from here? What do I ask for? I can't just be content with everything.
Yeah.
What's that?
He does have one of the oldest kits in the game.
He does.
That's true.
And I'm super excited for it. Him along with Asmodan, which we knew Asmodan was getting rework. They have been in the PTR for about 4 or 5 days now. I a couple times tried hopping in to see if I could test some stuff out, and the queue times were like 25 to 2700 seconds, like ridiculous. So I
Yeah.
haven't gotten to play any games, but I've been hearing great things. Multi, did you get to play any games?
I
you
did
try?
not either. I think it's because the PTR we've argued is not as incentivized as it should be in general. But in this case, I mean, if there's something that does incentivize people to hop on the PTR, usually it's like a new map or hero. But this one, I mean, it's some reworks, but there's not like Urel or someone to get in there and test out. I can see the queue time suffering.
I think there's probably a ton more people on the PTR for this because I think they're super excited for it. The issue is it's the same thing with
They're
all
all
PTRs.
queuing as Raynor.
They're all queuing as Raynor and Asmodan.
Yeah.
The TBK, I know you waited it out and got at least one game in on both of them. So why don't you walk us through and what you like, what you think about the new reworks here, and start with Asmodan. Let's save the best for last because I know we're all more excited about Raynor.
Starting with Asmodan. Okay, let me roll down to like the PTR notes. Like these are freaking massive. It's just scroll, new talents all over the place, tons of changes. So we won't hit on all of these things specifically because one, it's PTR, things could change. Two, both of these heroes will probably get a rework hero of the week from us because both of them have received absolutely significant updates. One of the big things to start off with the new Asmodan, he has a fairly significant health decrease, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
They took almost 300 health off his base, which is pretty crazy because Asmodan has long been one of the highest health pool characters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of crazy to begin with. I mean, kind of makes
Just a
sense for a
big
guy
sack
his
of hit
size.
points.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not a tank, so.
Yeah, so that's definitely an interesting thing to start with. His General of Hell trait has been changed. It's actually on a 60-second cooldown now. You can summon a Demon Lieutenant now. Not a general anymore. It's Demon Lieutenant. He'll cast Demonic Smite every 7 seconds, which instantly kills an enemy minion, and it lasts for 20 seconds. So there's actually 40 seconds of downtime now from that. Globe of Annihilation, you know how you used to have that stacking talent. That's built in now.
That's a cool change.
Yeah, so you have... it was such a core part of his kit. The whole stacking thing that... they just built it in. So now hitting a hero, and this is different because hitting a hero or killing a minion within 1.5 seconds of being hit by Globe of Annihilation grants 2 Annihilation stacks. And each Annihilation stack increases Globe's damage by 1 up to 400.
When previously it was just killing the minions, right?
Yes, previously it was just killing the minions.
That is interesting because it would further incentivize you to
Just
harass and hit heroes and be in the, like, if it's a map that does the 1-4 split, for instance, be in that 4 for sure.
Yeah. They also greatly reduce the delay before impact warning effects appear. so you get more warning that his globe is coming.
Mm-hmm.
They reduced the range from 35 to 30, which is also a fairly big deal because it is one of the longest range abilities in the game. That's not like infinite range.
Yeah.
And they reduced the casting time for it a little bit. So really interesting changes to his globe. I do love the fact that they built in the quest into his queue. I think that's a really cool deal. And I think one of the reasons they did that, the hero thing, is so people who weren't as good at the minion thing would still have a way to get annihilation stacks.
Yeah. Well, and it also sounds like they're wanting to kind of go away from the pure split push that a lot of Asmodeans have been
Right.
doing, not only with the General of Hell trait change and having 40 seconds of downtime now, but also with this hitting heroes thing. They're really wanting him to be like a super ranged team fight hero.
Yeah,
No,
well, and
I think you're right.
They're pushing back against the one of the only things in the game that kind of feel like last hitting in the other MOBAs. In a sense, I mean, you still have it, but the fact that you can get those stacks in another way is disincentivizing just pushing the lane, which is, I mean, ties into your point there.
Man,
Cutting down on the split push.
those quests are
Yeah.
hard. I'm not good at, because I play a lot of Thrall now and I go Echo of Elements, and that is the worst quest in the entire world to finish, and I hate it so much.
Remind me again which one that is. That the chain lightning one?
Yes, but well, there's 3 chain lightning at level 1. It's you
fair.
killing a minion within 1.5 seconds. It might be even 2 seconds of dying, or kill him within 2 seconds after being hit by chain lightning to get 20 stacks, and then it's either 20 or 30, and you work your way up and you get 2 casts of chain lightning, and then it less mana, stuff like that.
Somewhere out there is a Dota player that's listening to this and saying, "Oh yeah, well try last hitting your own and your opponent's minions." Yeah, creep deny.
Thankfully, I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Demon Warrior on W no longer has charges. It's just a single cast now. They also do a small amount of damage to nearby enemies every second. They got increased health. They got reduced attack damage. They got reduced attack range and reduced movement speed. So overall, they're a little weaker. They're a little, from a damage standpoint, they're a little hardier from a health standpoint, and now they do AoE damage. So that kind of can affect where you cast them a little bit now. All shall burn, and this is I say this is the big one, but all of this is pretty big because this is a huge base kit.
This one is
rework.
big though.
All shall burn has new functionality. It is not an infinite channel anymore. Now you channel a beam onto the enemy, and it does damage for 2.5 seconds. And if the channel lasts its full duration, you deal an extra amount of damage to the target. It also reduces your movement speed by 40% while channeling. The cooldown was increased from 6 to 8 seconds. The mana cost was changed from 12 per second to a flat 30 mana, and the range was reduced from 7 to 6.
So it's like life grip now.
So there's no more infinite lasering something.
You mean Drain Hope on Leoric?
That's what I meant. Yep.
That's what it reminded me of. Yeah, the bonus damage.
Much
at the
more
end.
so.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Which
so
is a
that's
cool mechanic. I've always liked that on Drain Hope. So,
although a little easier because you can target this one instead of having to skill shot
right.
it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's really interesting. Demonic Invasion gets new functionality. It still rains a small army of the grunts down, dealing damage on impact. They deal damage, they have health, but they only last up to 8 seconds now. And when they explode, they deal damage to nearby enemies. So their health now decays over 8 seconds. The cooldown was reduced from 100 to 90 seconds, and the mana cost was reduced from 100 to 60 seconds. So just know it's a much more temporary thing. You're not going to boost a wave massively and have it push with these grunts.
Yeah,
anymore.
I think this also goes to team fighting stuff because it's shorter term. They're doing damage when they explode now. Yeah.
And then probably the most controversial part of his new kit, and the one thing that I have a big problem with. Blackpool is gone. Blackpool is gone completely. There's a new heroic ability called Tide of Sin. You activate this to make the next Globe of Annihilation cost no mana and deal 50% more damage on a 30-second cooldown. This is quite possibly the most boring heroic in the history of heroics. Like they might as well just make that actually cast the Globe of Annihilation too, because that's literally all you're doing.
Yeah.
And just have it be a secondary queue. It is from how cool the rest of this is. This is like it feels like they hit a point and they were just like, oh crap, we're out of time for the rework. What should we do with Blackpool? It's too hard to balance. Get rid of it. Make it a free queue. Cool. Let's do that.
You know what? When I saw the video, I saw that and I thought, oh, that's an interesting solution to that issue. But then, yeah, I mean, you're making some sense here. To me, like this isn't a heroic. This is something that should be on my one key.
Exactly.
You they could have at least made it like also reset the cooldown of Globe of Annihilation or something, or cut it in half,
or make a bigger one,
really
like a huge one.
Yeah, and TBK and I were talking about this just for the show. Like, I feel like kind of their thought process along this was, it's like Blackpool easy mode. Like I feel like they were looking and thought, well, you know, a lot of people, and I think it's true, a lot of people use Blackpool just for Globe of Annihilation, when in reality that also boosted all of your abilities damage while standing in it. And so I don't know why they would have gone away from that. I mean, yeah, this is still going to help you get your stacks. That's about it. And I guess
so. I have an easy solution. I have a super easy solution. It's almost no extra art or animation budget at all. So let's, like, if you're wanting to go this route, if you're wanting to go away from the Blackpool route, that's fine, whatever. Let's turn this into something that's more interactive and interesting. So instead of having this just be a Globe of Annihilation thing, let's call Tide of Sin. Let's turn it into an empowerment heroic where I hit the R button and then my next Q costs no mana and does 50% more damage and is a little bigger. If I hit R and then hit my W, then it spawns a giant minion with extra AoE damage, or a pulsing AoE damage, or maybe two minions at the same time. If I hit my R and then hit E, maybe I channel multiple, my 2.5 second laser can hit multiple targets.
So or like it goes back to not having a timer.
Like a buffed up Kel'Thas trait?
Yeah, like some sort of an empower, but you only get it if you take this specific heroic, because then it actually gives you some playability. Like, oh, I need the extra damage on my Q right now. Hit the Q. Oh, I'm in a team fight situation right now. The extra lasers against multiple opponents could be pretty awesome. Or hey, I need more damage soaking. Let's get an empowered, demon out, or multiple demons out, or something like that.
I like it because I like
something to think about.
I like the decision making that would go into that. I am worried though that they would still just choose the Q and it would end up being the same heroic.
Well, that's just a skill level type thing. Like, they're just because a lot of people, that's what they use Blackpool for, doesn't mean you should take that away from other people. But
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you would have to, and those were just thrown off the top of my head. You'd have to think of something to make your empowerment of W and your empowerment of E interesting and usable for certain situations. Maybe the empowered E makes it do more bonus damage to structures. So then, now this is an interesting empowerment to use while I'm sieging or something versus a Q.
But they don't want him to do that.
It's on a 30-second cooldown, though.
No, I know.
And so, but I mean, this is a very, and I don't say this often, this is a very poorly designed heroic. This does not feel like a heroic to me. Like Multi said, this feels like, at best, a one key.
Yeah.
From some talents on some tier.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this is the one, really weak spot in what otherwise is a very cool looking rework.
Yeah.
You know what it kind of reminds me of too, and it's just now that you're pointing out like how boring of a heroic it is, it reminds me a little bit of old school possession on Sylvanas. Just like not an interesting thing
Um.
to me. I don't
Yeah.
know because I didn't like old school possession. Just changing the minions over.
Yeah. Hey, it was great on Hot of Minds though.
You mean when it was an ult?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I gotcha. But yeah, I mean, so that's like I said, that's really my one like downside to this rework. Otherwise, there's a massive amount of talent changes. We'll probably go through all those more in depth when we get more time to play through them. But otherwise, looks like it'll be a pretty good rework, and hopefully take him out, give him multiple build paths. That's one of the things that a lot of these new talents are trying to do. There's even like an auto attack build path, which is kind of cool. I don't know if it'll work out or not, but it's kind of cool that there's an option.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see him taken out of this mindset of I'm just going to push the lane, push the lane, push the lane, get stacks, push the lane type thing, and hopefully make him a little more multidimensional.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I love it when heroes that don't feel like they should have an auto attack build get one. Like when Diablo got his. I mean, it's not the greatest build, but I was excited. You know, just something different to try.
Yeah, I'm excited for it because I haven't played him in forever. He just didn't really fit my style and the Globe of Annihilation thing. Like I felt like I was forced into that talent and I wasn't very good at it. So I think there's a lot of things that'll help me on here and just help me to want to get back into him to check him out. All right, Raynor, TBK.
I feel like this dude is gonna be broken good if he goes out like this. And this is just from like, you cannot get legitimate games on the PTR. You really just can't. And so a lot of this is speculation. But just looking through his talent tree and looking through some of the new stuff he gets, it is bonkers, dudes. It is legit bonkers. So first off, he got a health increase. He got almost 150 extra base health, which is pretty big. He did get a basic attack damage reduction from 122 to 92. Which basic
is kind of his whole deal. So
so that is a nerf. His basic attack range is now set to 6.5 and is no longer his trait.
That's what we've been waiting for.
The lamest trait ever. So they're finally fixing that. But the big thing is his scaling. His scaling was actually increased from 4 to 5% per level. And we all know how scaling changes can react to things, aka Zagara ridiculousness this last bit. When you change scaling on stuff, it can get pretty insane. So he's getting a new trait, and it's called Give Him Some Pepper, which is the best name ever.
Should be Give Him Some Peppa.
Peppa. Give him some Peppa. I would also liked fill him full of daylight. That would have been pretty good too. Now it is every fourth basic attack splashes in a small area and deals 100 to 25% more damage to the primary target.
Yeah.
So there's your wave clear.
That interests me because wave clear, the extra bonus. I mean, here they're making up for, of course, the reduction to his basic attack damage. If they had that plus this, it would just be completely bonkers. But very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting applications for that, and there's definitely talents that are based on that trait too that'll be interesting. Right. His penetrating round, his Q, the damage was reduced from 240 to 220. It had a mana cost reduction, but now it slows enemy movement speed by 20% for 2 seconds, just automatically. And the knockback distance is based on the target's proximity to Raynor.
That's big. I like that.
Yeah.
Because it was...
So further knockback, the closer they are to you.
That's nice. Because now you can actually... I don't know how many times like somebody comes for... Or like you go to help gank a lane that Raynor's in, and he just barely hits them with that thing, and they go flying and ends up saving the person. So now, like you can... if you use it when they're about to get away, because I feel like that was like, oh no, they're about to get away. Let me see if I can get some burst damage. It won't knock them back as much and hinder that gank. So that's cool.
Yeah, and you still have it to push away the when the butcher charges in on you, you can still, let him close the gap, get his stuff off, and then push him away quite a bit too. So.
Is the pushback further than it was prior when people are in your face now, TBK, or is it?
I think the pushback full distance is the same, but if you get hit at the edge of it, you're not going to get pushed back that much.
Okay, so to get what it was before, it would be like melee range now.
Is that how it felt anyway? We don't have any science yet to back this up.
No science yet to back this, but that's kind of what it seemed like.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's still fine. I mean, it did its job back then for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the slow now is really going to help. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. So his Inspire, his W, the cooldown was increased from 10 to 12 seconds, so a little longer cooldown, but it has new functionality. Raynor and all nearby allied minions and mercenaries gain 30% attack speed and 10% movement speed for 4 seconds. Casting Inspire resets Raynor's basic attack cooldown.
That's cool.
So that's usually a little higher level type play in hitting an auto attack than hitting the W for another quick auto attack.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love off swings.
Butcher has that on his
one of my favorite
queue.
Things. Arthas, Frostborn Hungers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But it doesn't look like Inspire actually inspires heroes.
Yeah, it doesn't
anymore.
But I mean,
because it only mentions minions and mercenaries.
Right.
So having him with a push could be very strong, or having your Raynor push with your mercenaries is also going to gain quite a bit of value. Adrenaline Rush, E. This has changed to where this is actually an activatable now. The cooldown was increased from 30 to 45 seconds, and the mana cost was increased from 0, because you didn't click it, to 75. And the new functionality is it will heal Raynor for 25% of his maximum health over 1 second. Raynor's basic attacks reduce Adrenaline Rush's cooldown by 0.5 seconds, and that is doubled against heroes. So as long as you're attacking, you'll actually get your Adrenaline Rush back faster than before.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. That'll give him a lot of sustain in lane. More sustain than you would have previously.
And I love that it's activatable.
Yeah.
I love that I don't have to take a talent to make it activatable. It's just that way, and it's an extra button press, because Raynor was always missing. He only had a QW.
Right.
He didn't have a trait, really, and he didn't have an E, really, because it was just all automatic unless you took the talent. So that's nice of them to add it.
It is nice. I like it. This is the only one that weirds me out. Like, when I saw the video, I thought, because we always thought about, of course, the meme, how are they going to rework Raynor? And we always thought that having an activatable E makes sense, which this is. But it's also not a new E, I mean, it functions differently, of course, but it's still just his self-heal, which fits him, yes. And I mean, he keeps his flavor for a lot of hardcore Raynor fans. But I don't know. This is the one thing in the whole rework where I was thinking, as I saw it, I was like, oh, they could have done something different and interesting in there. And not that this isn't different or interesting, but you know what I mean? Like a totally different ability could have slotted in there. And they just didn't go that route, which is fine. But
I think they wanted to keep him basic.
Yeah,
in a lot
true.
of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did a pretty good job of keeping this his ease of use, I guess. Because that was always one thing. Raynor is like, that's your tutorial hero. That's your first one that a lot of people play. And so you need to keep him fairly simple so people can have just a right click and attack type hero. And then the other big thing that changed is he has it's not a new ult, but it kind of is. Raynor's Raider. So this works completely differently than it did before. The health was increased to 1,000. The damage per missile was reduced, and the attacks per second was increased. And the new functionality now is it summons a Banshee that assists Raynor The Banshee deals 96 damage per second and regenerates 75 health per second if it hasn't taken damage in the last 4 seconds. You can reactivate it to retarget or move the Banshee, and the Banshee will automatically respawn after 45 seconds if it dies. So this is now a permanent pet.
That's
essentially. Cool. So think functionality-wise, think Water Elemental
right.
or Kerrigan's Ultralisk. Yeah. That's the kind of thing we're looking at with this.
Not as advanced of a pet as like Misha would be for Rexar, but
exactly
controllable, out, ready to throw down. It's an interesting take on it. And then I also want to point out too that if you get the skin, you actually have Roadraider, Raynors, Raiders.
Roadraider,
Raiders.
Roadraider, Raynors, Raiders.
Yeah, that's a lot of rating of the
Is that the episode title? Roadraider, Raynors, Roadraider, Raynors,
Roadraider, Raynors, Raiders. Yes, yeah. I was going to suggest
Raiders.
Maybe.
Road Raiders,
oh boy.
Raynor,
I like it though.
Raynor.
That's good.
Okay.
So those are the main kit changes. And then you move into the talents, and he's got some absolute bonkers talents that increase some of these new abilities. The big thing is his talent tree has pretty much been cleared of all those old generic talents and been replaced by Raynor specific talents, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of good stuff, and like I said, we're not going to go over everything in depth tonight with this new stuff. But one of the crazy things, he's got some insane level 1 and level 20 talents, and the big level 1 I wanted to point out is he gets an execute talent at level 1. Ace in the hole allows him to deal 35% more damage to stunned or slowed enemies.
That's a lot.
Also, his penetrating round has a slow on it now.
Yeah, now has a slow.
Mm-hmm. So, Executioner from level 1.
Seems good, man.
Kind of nuts. Kind of nuts, especially with the amount of stuns and slows in the game.
So
could be pretty good.
If the enemy team has a Raynor on their team, don't engage in the 5v5 mid fight. Just go soak lane.
Apparently not. And then some of the new level 20s are pretty insane. Like Indomitable Resolve, which allows your trait, give him some pepper, will lower the cooldown of Hyperion by 5 seconds. So every 4th basic attack, you're lowering the cooldown of Hyperion by 5 seconds if the primary target is a hero. And then and this is the insane thing. Inspire, let me double check this, our 10-second cooldown. 10-second cooldown. Yeah, 12-second cooldown. That's why I checked it. Our Inspire, our 12-second cooldown, now gives Raynor unstoppable for 2 seconds. What?
Yep.
This is nutso.
Traditionally hasn't had a lot of escapes. I mean, 20
Especially
is
level
a late
20.
game time at which you need an escape necessarily. If you lose that fight, you sometimes just lose. But yeah, that could be a huge deal for sure.
Yep.
I still don't know how I feel about it over 20% attack speed though.
And 25% against
25% bonus.
Yeah.
Against below 50%
the new talent called, appropriately enough, Execute increases your attack speed by 20%, and your basic attack damage is increased by 25% against targets below 50% health.
Yep.
And now you can have Executioner and Execute.
You're an executing executioner. Raider, Raynor. I don't know. The executing.
Roadraider.
Roadraider, Raynors.
Onto this already ridiculous title.
Roadraider, Raynors, Raiders, executing execution. I don't know. Never mind. Exterminator. I don't know.
It's too difficult. This is why it's going to be hard to play. It's just pronouncing and saying these things. Yes. No. That one's very interesting to me. All of this, like, to me, it's just generally speaking. Again, it's a rework. It's a full rework. Make no mistake. And I mean, we haven't even just brushed the surface of all the changes on the again, it's kind of like you said with the Asmodan one. When you get in there and actually read through the patch notes of what all is changing per talent tier, there's too much to cover right now. But again, I mean, I really do think they've kept the flavor, made it interesting. I don't think there's any question we're going to have a Heroes of the Week for both these guys.
Yeah, agreed. And I look forward to it. There were some other changes here in the PTR. I'll go through here real quick as far as battlegrounds and stuff. Mercenaries, heroes can no longer heal, shield, or target allied mercenaries with abilities unless
That's
an ability
big.
specifically states, yes, that mercenaries are
That is
valid
huge.
targets.
Because last I heard, Abathur could not symbiote mercenaries anymore.
Huh. Yeah, that is big.
That's a pretty big change.
Alterac Pass, Ice Giants, attack speed reduced by 30%. Neutral Ice Giant attack damage increased from 240 to 312. Captured Ice Giant attack damage increased from 400 to 520. So people thought those were a little weak. Turns out they were. We got a little buff there. And the Cavalry, damage bonus provided by Cavalry units is now a flat 10% and no longer scales with each completed event.
For a second there, I thought you were talking about an Overwatch podcast. I kind of flipped out for a moment.
Battlefield of Eternity on the minimap. Minimap icons that represent immortals during an event have received updates. Opposing immortal now uses an icon depicting crossed axes, while the allied immortal displays a shield icon. I actually like that because every time I have to, when the first objective starts, I'm like, all right, what side am I on?
Yep.
It's blue. Wait, no, but I'm on the
Totally.
demon side. Now, which one is that? That looks like a
Totally.
halo. No, it's not a halo. It's horns or something. So it's good change there. And then Brax's Holdout, some good stuff as well. Beacons now become contested immediately when heroes from both teams are on the point. Zerg Waves, the baseline Zerg Wave has been strengthened significantly. Should encourage teams to split up in order to defend against an incoming Zerg Wave rather than send all 5 players to attack. And then Beacon Progress Bars. The progress bars in the lower right corner of the screen have received visual updates to coincide with the above changes.
That's pretty huge too, because this is a map that, at least from a pro scene, a lot of pros have had big problems with since its release, just because of how snowbally in nature this map can be.
Right.
And so increasing the base Zerg wave will be really interesting, and then that contesting while just someone is standing on it is a really big deal too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the fact that you have to just defend, because I was always a proponent of, if you win enough of the percentages there, just push with all 5, get as much of it as you can. But now that that's not the case, the games will just be longer and less snowballing, so it's cool.
And then a few hero changes. Cassia, an interesting one. Blinding Light now also deals 50 damage, plus 4% per level to enemies in the target area. So that's a pretty significant buff. Just giving one of her abilities, it now adds damage. And she's
It's not a lot, but it's something. Sure.
Yeah, I mean it's big considering it's just.
She seems
adding
like she's
damage.
been getting stealth buffed the last few patches.
Well, and
does it
she,
feel
she
like
seems,
that?
she seems really great right
We've
now.
seen her
Like
name
she seems
come
strong.
up a few times.
Yeah. And then Chromie, Time Trap. Melee heroes who can now see a time trap can now use melee attacks to destroy it without triggering its effects. Also an interesting one. Which is kind of a nerf to her in a way, because there were several times I would try attacking and then it would immediately, or I would get stuck in it, and it's annoying.
How do you get close enough to it to slap it without triggering it?
A move to it, or
There's
just
gotta be
click on
something
it.
to that.
I don't know.
Yeah, fine.
And then Alex Straza.
Click on it.
Right click to move. Oh, what? Okay.
Alex Straza, Lifebinder, now also heals Alex Straza and her target for 300 health per second during channeling. So, I still probably won't take it. I also don't play Alex Straza, so nothing big there for me.
It's hard to beat something that makes you completely untargetable, does healing and damage, and then allows you to land where you want.
Yeah,
Right.
and move across half a map if you want to, if you choose. And also be an autocast if you're in your dragon form. It's really good, turns out. But that's the PTR stuff. We'll see if Raynor makes it out of PTR without any changes there. But I am super stoked for him, and super stoked to go over both of those heroes later on in Hero of the Week stuff when their updates come out. Let's
If
move.
they change them at all, I could see numbers tweaks maybe, but
Yeah.
there's just so much work put into how these talents line up and everything now. We're seeing these talents come out.
Oh,
at
for
least.
sure. Yeah, it'd be number stuff. But let's go ahead and get on into HGC. All right, TBK, HGC Phase 2 of 2018 picked back up this last week.
It did. And it actually picked up on the original Urel hotfix patch. But coming up this weekend, we will see the Urel balance patch be played on. And this is the one where she got her buff as well as several other tuning things. And so this is going to be really interesting to see how this changes things up, because Phoenix got his nerf in this patch. Let's see, Maiev got her changes. Tracer got a nerf this patch. Zebo got a nerf. Zagara got a nerf. Rhaegar got his huge buff.
Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see if he starts popping up again at all. Both Johanna and Diablo got buffs, and we've been starting to see a lot more Johanna lately too, and now she's really starting to position herself as one of the main tanks again, which I kind of like because she'd been out of the meta for so long. It's kind of nice seeing her come back around a little bit. And then of course the really big Urel buffs. So I am predicting that we will see her at least a few times, if not more,
And
this weekend.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's all I'm going to say to that right now because we're going to get into her here in a
We
little bit.
we saw her on the EU side a little bit, and we saw her on the NA side a little bit. She did. I know for sure we saw her on the EU side, a little bit for this time. But like I said, I predict we will see her a lot more this time around with these specific buffs, and we'll kind of talk about it a little bit more when we go over her here in a few minutes. But so week 1 results, close your ears if you don't want to hear. This was a very roller coastery week, honestly, especially for the NA side. Team Freedom 3-0'd Simplicity on Friday, and Endemic 3-0'd No Tomorrow. But then Simplicity 3-1'd Endemic on Sunday. So just, nice flip-flopping. Heroes Hearth won their set 3-1 against Team Freedom, and Looking for More actually took a game off Octalysis. And that series is actually much closer than those results even would lead you to believe. And the same kind of with No Tomorrow. No Tomorrow tried some new stuff out. They had 2 pretty hard matches this last week against Endemic and against Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm, and this is an update for now, for what we know, they have not announced a new permanent player. Vin was playing for them as a sub this last weekend. And he's a player, Grandmaster player from the Open Division. He's been playing on Open Division. But as of now that I've seen, Tempo Storm has not announced
who
their new player is
on their roster on the website, which I don't know if they would have, if they did that just for the
so
sub,
I don't know if they've officially taken him. He did a great job. I actually got to catch some of those games, and he played really well for them. So potentially that might be something to look at. But I have not at least seen an official announcement.
He's on the website, but no photo in the Nexagon, and then he doesn't have the role fleshed out yet. So
well, and that just makes sense because they would have taken care of that stuff at the summit, which at the time I believe Solemn would have. So they'd have to wait until another time. But
good, really good start, really good games. Viewership was up quite a bit, which was awesome. I'm sure drops are helping with that somewhat. I love all these drops that are going on. It's just, you're giving me loot boxes for watching Heroes, and I was going to watch Heroes anyways. So thank you for the loot boxes, Blizzard. You guys are awesome.
I forgot when that's supposed to end, but
I think it ends this Tuesday with the new patch.
I almost feel like maybe that might just be something that they turn on for at least,
like, just leave on.
Yeah, at least for esports stuff. Maybe not just all hero streams. Because
that'd be cool if they turn them on like Friday through Sundays.
I think it'd be great because speaking from personal experience as a small heroes streamer now, like, yeah, it did help in numbers, but a lot of times that was just people coming in and putting your channel on and like no interaction or anything, which is great, helps our numbers. But I don't know if that's necessarily like a super healthy thing in the long run, but encouraging people to watch the esports, I think is great. So
yeah, you could even turn them on just for major events, like mid-season brawls.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be a great. It seems to have really gotten a lot more people on board from a watching perspective, because there is that little Twitch thing that actually says drops enabled on the channel, which is a big draw for people who play to come watch more, and hopefully showed some people, got some new people involved. Looking forward to this week on the NA side. Friday, Heroes Hearth will be facing Looking for More Esports, and Tempo Storm will be taking Team Octalysis on. So two pretty big sets actually coming up first thing on Friday. So be sure to check those out. And then on the EU side on Friday, we're going to be seeing Fnatic take on Granite Gaming and Dignitas taking on Method. So really just an overall pretty big Friday for both regions. So definitely make sure to check those out.
Yeah. I'm excited for this phase, and especially for the next couple weeks to kind of see where things settle for this initial part to build those storylines for phase 2.
Yeah.
We'll keep our eye on it. Now, it is time, finally, to talk some Yrel for our hero of the week. If I can find that, there it is.
Hero of the week.
All right. So after Yrel being out for 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now, I don't remember. I think it's 3 weeks, and her undergoing some buffs and trying to figure out where the heck she sits. We have played her, and I honestly, personally, still don't know. I want to start this off with I think the hero of the week for Yrel, like discussing our builds here, and we'll try and be kind of as in depth as possible. But I think she is going to be a very difficult one to just listen to a build and how it synergizes and hop in and play it. So if you're one of those people that I mean, that's the reason we do these builds, is to help people get in with a baseline to hop in and play. I don't know if that's going to help in this case. It will help, but you need to really just play her, because her play style is so crazy that you just gotta learn when certain timing for things are gonna happen. And it took me to like level 5,
probably more so than any other character that I've played so far.
She's not a hop in and play character in general. I mean, build or no build, it's the kit itself and how it works that kind of sets her apart and makes her honestly a fairly high skill floor and cap for what she is.
Yeah. And the more I play her, the more viable she becomes to me, especially in specific situations. But normally I can play a hero and pick up how they work and stuff in a couple games. This took me 10 games before I was like, oh, okay, that's how we do it.
Yeah, she just finally clicked with me early this week.
Yeah. So just keep that in mind if you go in here and try her out with this. Like, you gotta give her some time. But yeah, we played quite a bit of her and came up with some stuff here, so hopefully it'll help you out.
Yeah, and in defense of the build we're about to lay out here, and we've got a bunch of situational talents in there too, of course. But honestly, so TBK and I played a game today before the show. We didn't win it, but despite that, there were some talents in here that I hadn't really tried before, and it kind of helped gel things together for me. Like I at least am now starting to get some of the things you can do with inner talents to change up her playstyle. And I will say that that's something we talked about privately during that game, TBK, was that some of these picks that you take can totally change up like the way you're approaching fights, the way you're closing gaps, as well as escaping, and like the order in which you do your abilities, and even auto attacks. That like there's just a lot to unpack here.
Question for you, Multi. Whose build did you go off of?
Oh, the one posted everything to the left at TBK.
Oh, so you went on. Okay, not the one that's posted Heroes Hearth links. I got you.
Right.
So this is gonna be an interesting one again. I think the best way to do this, we'll discuss that build, and then I'll kind of throw in my talents, and then at the end we'll do what we did last week, and TBK can run down that build, and then I'll run down a build. Because we're gonna fight again. So, Multi, why don't you lead us off here first for level 1?
So level 1, we're laying out a couple different options for you, but the one I am now sold on is Maraud's Insight. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't speak Alliance, so I guess I don't really care. Maraud's Insight, though, after casting a basic ability, Urel's next basic attack heals her for 148. So you see that number, you don't think it's too crazy. You see the other talents as you're looking at this tier, and this is honestly the one that I hadn't even taken until today, because I played around with one of the other ones we're going to highlight is called Dauntless. Casting a basic ability grants Urel 35 physical armor for 2 seconds. It still has its place, against auto attackers and everything. But I am totally sold on Maraud's Insight personally, and TBK kind of sold me on it. So what this is doesn't seem like a big deal numerically. I mean, it's not a ton of health for that basic attack. But when you think about that, like, you really can cycle through her basic abilities very frequently. Honestly, especially if you're just not even necessarily charging them up all the way. You're wave clearing in the early game. You're kind of harassing in some cases with this. And honestly, this enables a lot more harassment because you can just jump in, get a few more abilities off, and you're honestly keeping yourself up pretty well. Because when you think about it, you get a little bit of healing from the Vindication, the Q in the first place. And this is just more on top of it. And it just in general, she's pretty sturdy as it is. So I would venture to say that, like, if you're going to just pick her up and go, try this one out. The other cool thing about it that you have to watch, though, is that you do have to kind of, especially in like the early and mid-game sustainy periods of time where you're doing a lot of laning, be sure you're at least landing that auto attack after a basic ability, because otherwise you're not fully getting everything out of it. The other nice thing, too, though, is that if she's at full health, it doesn't matter. Like, you can get the ability off, do the basic attack, and she doesn't lose the little stack of... It actually shows this marker right underneath her health bar. Kind of looks like a little green leaf or something. I'm not sure.
It's a
there.
little green plus sign.
But plus sign, yeah. And so, you don't lose the value from just being alone wave clearing, for instance. So it's real good.
I think after... Oh, Greg, did you want to counter yet?
I was going into the counter, but I was going to agree first. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I'll since we're on Maraud's Insight beforehand, I'll just kind of do, because multi said a lot of the stuff we talked about a little earlier in the game. I've become convinced that this is probably one of the most necessary key things to her entire kit. And it's because the sustain this talent provides you, especially during the laning phase, allows you to outlane just about any other hero. It is absolutely insane the amount of sustain this talent provides. And the only thing you need to do is make sure that you get good at weaving in those auto attacks between basic abilities. And the other big thing is, and we talked about this a little bit a few weeks ago, you don't need to always charge everything.
Right.
Not at all. Like, in a lot of times I'm not charging my abilities easily just as much as I'm charging them fully. And so it's a really big deal because you can get an ability off, get your auto attack off, get another ability off, get an auto attack off, and you can do that in very quick succession without actually charging them all the way up, and then using your D to land. Right now, your Avenging Wrath, they buff the damage so much that I've been mainly spending my Divine Purpose on auto charging that E and getting that quick jump and quick damage point in. But I feel like, at least as of now, in almost every situation, Murad's Insight is really the key to her, because it actually gives you a good, sustainable laning presence, whereas before you could maybe hold the lane, but now with this you can win the lane against almost anybody.
It also helps out talents further down the tree, especially in the build we're going with. But yeah, against all this logic, Gizmo, what do you got?
Okay, here we go. Murad's Insight. It's a great talent. It's good. Absolutely in solo lane situations, or really I would say lanes like I go this talent on Braxis Holdout and Dragonshire if I'm going to be soloing a lane, because yes, it provides great sustain. You will be hard pressed to find, especially later on with some more talents, anyone that will push you out of lane. Like you own that lane with that talent. I would not suggest it right off whenever you're practicing your L. Because I think 90% of people who get URL for the first time is going to get zero value from it.
I don't know. If you know how to weave the attacks, it's fairly easy to do, just because your basic attack is so slow.
It is on most heroes, but I think, at least for me, the trying to work around this being a character that is charging ability, there's a lot to concentrate on. So I wasn't getting much value, and maybe that's just me, but I feel like there'd be some more people out there that it's easier to just, you need to get comfortable with her abilities first, when to fully charge, when to not fully charge, and
Sure.
kind of used to the auto attack speed. So I think for hopping in, at least on your first game, Dauntless might be a better thing, especially if you're not solo laning, to where casting a basic ability grants you 35 physical armor for 2 seconds. You don't have to worry about weaving those auto attacks, getting that timing. You can concentrate on kind of learning the kit. But if I am not playing Braxis Holdout or Dragonshire, and I have a good support that has targeted heals, so not Lily, then I do like Dauntless, because that 35 armor for 2 seconds, you pretty much have 35 armor up for an entire team fight.
Remember, it's only physical armor, though.
Okay,
Right.
yes, physical armor. So it's going to depend on who you're playing against as well. But having that up for pretty much the entire team fight with a healer that can target heals, Malfurion's great because he has the heal over time plus the Moonfire stuff. I think it's fantastic.
But
But-
I mean, when Raynor owns the meta again, it's gonna be real good.
When what?
Yep.
Oh,
When Raynor owns the
hey,
meta,
dude, I've been
maybe.
seeing a ton of Vala lately as well.
Vala's been coming back.
Yeah.
She's definitely been
I've
coming
seen a
back.
fair
some.
amount of
And Butcher.
Lunara as well.
Yes.
So yeah,
One thing I want to preface to before we go further is, and I don't know if there's agreement or not, but Urel to me she's not been a super quick match friendly hero, because I feel that she works at an optimal point when you're not the main tank and when you're not the only tank.
oh for sure.
The best times where I've felt the most ridiculous as Yrel are when there is an actual main tank like an ETC, like a Garrosh, like a Muradin with me, and I am playing that off lane, off tank support type role. That is where she really, really excels. If she's not in that, she weakens considerably. I mean, not that she's not good still, and not that you can't win with her still, but you will get the most out of her when you can be in that solo lane and when you do have another actual main tank with her.
And I do think that when they recategorize the roles, I don't remember if they said this specifically at some point or if I'm just pulling this out of thin air. I know they talked about, for instance, Zarya being categorized as, yes, a warrior, but then also a support. Not healer, but straight support in the sense that she's got the shields and such. I think they could do this with her as well, with Yrel. I know your build there, Gizmo, with all the armor stuff is very supporty in its own ways. You can take talents to get extra support out of your heroics and such. So I mean, I think that that issue specifically is going to be fixed in the long run with just the recategorization and when they put in all the changes to make sure that you have a true tank in every quick match, for instance. But until then, yeah, it is kind of a you do often find yourself just being stuck as the only tank, and it's not always a feel good moment, especially when you're up against a real true hardcore tank that's good.
Yeah, but I've had my greatest success with Muradins and Garroshes. Muradin's my favorite to go with as a URL. But yeah, I would totally agree. I describe her as a utility warrior.
Yeah,
at least the way I play her.
Very much so.
All right,
and there's a place for that. Like it's a fun fantasy and play style. I mean,
level 4 here, TBK.
Level 4, I have been leaning towards Gift of the Naru. And this is nice because you're going to be hitting your trait key, your D key, pretty often anyways. Like I said, normally these days to use your E, just because they buff the E damage so much, you can use it for wave clear, you can use it for jumping on top of squishy's heads, you can use it for a lot of stuff, but it's an automatic heal to the lowest health nearby ally. It's just really, really good.
Yeah.
So I really like it. I lean towards that. Aegis of Light is another decent one, depending on your comp makeup, because this is when you land, Avenging Wrath grants other nearby allied heroes 35 armor for 5 seconds. This can be very good, depending on the team comp that I have and depending on the situation. If I'm the main tank, I don't like it, not one bit. If I am the support utility tank, it becomes a lot more attractive to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm kind of weirded out that we're not more excited about Hand of Freedom on this tier. That's the one where you grant an allied hero 50% movement speed for 3 seconds and remove all slows and roots from them. Cannot be used on yourself. This one hits the Paladin fantasy on the nose because it just reminds me of some of the abilities that they would pull off on me in PvP. And I mean, it could be super good. I mean, when you think about all the slows and roots that are out there, if you're up against somehow like an Arthas and Malfurion comp, you could get a lot of value out of that. I just think that, and I mean, when you look at it on Heroes Hearth as well, just general talent breakdown is showing a 0% pick rate on here. I think it kind of goes in that same category. And we were just talking about Lunara the other week, where she's got that Abolish Magic that does similar very, very useful things, but isn't benefiting her directly necessarily in the same way. And I don't know. I just don't know if people don't find it attractive or don't just want to master the timing of such a thing when you're in there jumping around getting your abilities off. I'm not sure. I like it though. It's something I want to explore.
Yeah, I think
personally,
this is definitely like the most situational tier for her, because as her kind of being the solo laner, a lot of people play her as or whatever, none of these things directly impact you. So it's really what are you going up against, what's your team composition, that type of stuff. So
Yeah, actually, they're all designed to help other people.
yeah. So you if you're in that solo lane or whatever, you get nothing from this talent tier. But when you join up with your team, that's when it starts. Gift of the Naru, I like if you it depends on the supports that you have. If there's a Lily on your team, Gift of the Naru is great. I think. But even when you don't have necessarily like a dive comp or melee, I really, really, really like Aegis of the Light, where that's the one where Avenging Wrath grants nearby allied heroes 35 armor for 5 seconds, because it is fantastic for if you do have dive. It's fantastic for if you just have a heavy front line. It's fantastic for your back line if they have dive and they get to your back line.
Yeah.
It's fantastic for helping someone try to escape, just diving to them to give them armor and then using your club to knock people away. So I think it's great in a ton of situations.
What is the range on it? Do you know? Do you have to? Is it in like the landing circle?
It
Do you have
is.
to
It's
land on them?
extended by probably like close to double. Maybe if
It's
like,
not super huge.
No, it's probably like it's probably
Double
close
the
to
circle,
double
though.
of the initial circle. So it's fairly big, but it's not huge.
So you could land in
It's like a
tight
Globe
team
of
fight
Annihilation
on
type thing.
like. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a fair. Assessment.
I don't know because Globe got bigger, I think, so I'm not sure about that, but the old Globe at least. So yeah, I like it in a ton of situations. But like TBK said, if you're a solo war tank, then it's not great because you don't want to be diving to the back of your team when the other team's coming. You want to be a wall. So being able to provide those heals is great. Level 7 here, multi.
Okay, 7. Couple options there yet again. Actually, we kind of want to highlight most of them, but let's go with Samara's Light here. So this is where I was kind of hinting at our Murad's Insight at the beginning. Kind of synergizes with this one. So Samara's Light is where, while above 50% health, gain 15% movement speed. And so here's the thing. This is the talent tier that has Divine Steed. And I love Divine Steed. Do not get me wrong. It's so much fun to just auto mount, get that 80% movement speed that decays over 3 seconds on that guy. I think it changes up sometimes the way that you chase down or escape or do any number of things, and it's kind of addicting. Like if you play it enough, you don't really want to jump off it. But let me tell you guys again, basing most of this on my game from today with TBK, jump off it, because Samara's Light, when paired with Murad's Insight, is actually pretty crazy. So I think one of the problems that Irel has in general, at least for me, and maybe it's a lack of practice, maybe it's just that I need to get in there with her some more, but it's that like you get in there and you do your stuff, but some of the heroes that are able to outpace you a little bit in terms of speed or just in general, like if you're chasing someone down on her, unless they're somehow slowed or CC'd in some way, often I find that they either just get away or I'm just whiffing on that W, something like that. This really helps prevent that from being the case, because if, again, you've taken Murad's Insight, the thing where you get the extra healing out of your basic attacks between abilities, it's not that hard to keep yourself above 50%, at least in the early to mid game, which again, level 7 is. So it's pretty, like, you get to a point where you can kind of harass in the lane too. Like you're not just that bulwark wall that you were talking about, Gizmo, just defending the gate. You can get out there and throw down with whoever you've been laning against in a 1v1 situation, and actually like wrap around them, get the extra attacks off. It enables you to get more of your abilities off and charge them longer in a sense, because like the Q that they would have gotten out of before, they don't now. And I don't know. I'm pretty sold on Samara's Light. It's got some good qualities to it.
Okay. Well, I have 2 that I go here, and neither of them are Samara's Light.
Have you tried Samara?
But yes, and I do like Samara's Light. Whoops. But number 1 that I'm going to go to is Holy Avenger, where hitting an enemy hero with Avenging Wrath at maximum charge reduces its cooldown to 1 second. So this is for your ideal kind of composition of either having at least another tank, a main tank. Because now to begin those fights, you can have your E already charged up. You can dive into the fight and do some damage, give your tank 35 armor for 5 seconds, and depending on your comp, possibly some more people as well. Then it's already reset the cooldown. So you can either start charging that up again to do some more damage, and again, you don't have to charge at max, and cast it immediately again to extend that, or wait a few seconds to extend that armor duration. And then do other stuff, and hey, by the time you need it again, your trait's off cooldown. So then you can instant cast it again, land on a hero, give armor, and it's just keeping up that armor by quite a bit for your team, giving your team some sustain. If you are on the solo lane type thing, and I'll explain this at the end, but when I'm saying solo lane for her, I mean maps like Braxis or Dragonshire. For that type of build, I like Righteous Momentum, where Uriel's no longer slowed while channeling Righteous Hammer, and at max charge rate, she gains 25% movement speed. I like this because if you are in the solo lane, the 15% movement speed is great when you're above 50 health, but I don't really need that. And if somebody's rotating up, getting that 25% movement speed, while it makes it a lot easier for me to help set up that gank, get around that person, and knock them back, and also not having to worry about being slowed from the channel speed initially. I just find that with the leap and that combined, it allows me to get around that person and positioned a lot better. And it's also a great escape. If for some reason you need to get out, you can charge that up and you have your movement speed. But it very much still kind of fills the same role as Samar's Light, just in a different way.
I think I like Samar's Light above just about everything now, except for maybe situational use if I'm going to more E build for Holy Avenger. And like Multi, I was on the Divine Steed train. Like, it is a super cool talent.
It's still fun.
And it makes it really annoying because after I play her with that talent, then I expect the next hero I play to have an insta mount time.
Yes, I've had that same experience.
And it throws me off horribly. But Samar's Light, the reason it's so good is that it almost nullifies your channeling movement reduction from all of your basic abilities. So with that, and above 50% health, which is not super hard to do on her, especially as Multi said, if you have Maraud's Insight too, you're only taking a 10% movement debuff whenever you do any of your channeling, which is a really freaking big deal. Plus, that's 15% above base movement to allow you to get around somebody to then use your hammer or something like that, even on a low charge, or even you can get far enough to then charge it, keep up with them, and then knock them back.
That
or whatever.
The reasoning behind everything else I agree with besides that, because if you go Righteous Momentum, you are moving faster once it's fully charged.
Why would I go Righteous Momentum when I could do this for everything? Because this gives me most of the Righteous Momentum benefits plus a 15% movement speed bonus at almost all times when I'm above 50% health, and the lesser slow when I'm doing my Q and my W and my E.
I just don't.
To me, Righteous Momentum sets up, of course, the perfect knockbacks and that kind of thing. And I mean, some of the other points you made too about that you could use it as an escape checkout. But Samara's Light, I mean, it really changes to me my entire way of approaching targets that I'm walking up to, and just kind of the play style.
I don't know. I just and again, Righteous Momentum, I'm still going Holy Avenger most of the time. And I do want to point out, you actually still can't even go this in a solo lane, because that's just going to be that's also a ton more damage that you're doing on the person that you're solo laning against with that cooldown reset. But
just remember that it has to be a full charge to get the reset. Because I read it wrong the first time, and I was expecting to bunny hop all over the place, and you can't do that.
That's not how it can be kind of close, but yeah, it's not. But it's to charge or cast really quick, If you actually, it can be two casts really quick.
Too quick. Yeah.
But yeah,
The crazy thing and the thing that's awesome about her talent build is that 4 is all things that you help your teammates with, all of which are, at least in situations, viable. 7 is all things that change up the way you approach your fights and your movement. I mean, they're all movement based, and that, again, I mean, you could make an argument for any of these too.
Mhm.
It's just good design.
Level 10 here. What did you put? Situational. Okay, and I agree with that. It is situational. I prefer in most situations Ardent Defender, which is where you surround Yrel in a barrier for 3 seconds, absorbing all damage taken and healing. Absorbing all damage taken and healing for 50% of the damage received. This is great in team fights. If you're getting down low to pop it, it's great in solo lane. If you're getting down low to pop it, it's fantastic against Sonya. And
it's a personal divine shield
Yes.
that gives you health back.
Exactly. It's
Right.
like a personal.
Because you cannot
palm
die while
almost.
it's on.
Yeah, it's like a personal palm kind of. Except you can still move. And Sacred Ground is, I mean, it's great. It's 40-second cooldown. Yrel sanctifies the ground around her, gaining 40 armor until she leaves the area. That's good on, capture points. If you're needing to hold a spot for a long time, something like Sky Temple or Braxis Holdout. But I still
'Cause
find
it's a pretty big
Alterac,
area.
It is.
Alterac Pass.
Yeah, Alterac Pass. But I still,
That's what I mainly take it on, is the capture point,
Yeah.
like maps like Braxis and Sky Temple.
But still, depending on team comp, a lot of times in those situations, I still end up going Ardent Defender. Just kind of depends.
Yeah, the thing about Ardent Defender, though, is that, and we kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago, the only drawback is that opponents that are really paying attention to this kind of thing might just not attack you in that time. Which, I mean, again, if they're not attacking you, you're still preventing all damage taken. You're just not getting the healing out of it there. So, I mean, it's still good. I won't ever say that being immune to damage for 3 seconds is a bad thing. But, and when timed right, yeah, you can block some damage for sure. As anyone who's played with Uther and, Divine Shield knows. But yeah, Sacred Ground, I mean, if I can get away with picking it, I kind of do, just because, 40 armor is pretty serious. And I mean, even on maps that aren't specifically centered around a fixed point like that, you're always going to be in some sort of team fight that breaks out. And it's big enough that I feel like, as long as you aren't truly jumping all over the place, and as long as no one's directly trying to knock you out of it, which does happen pretty frequently, they react to Sacred Ground, I've noticed, then you'll get some value out of it.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses to both of it, because Sacred Ground, they see it popped, all they have to do is retreat, unless it's one of those capture point maps, because then they're kind of forced into trying to take it over. With the Ardent Defender, even if they're not actively trying to hit me, there is usually something out there that you can get healing on, like a Jaina Blizzard or Kael'thas Flame Strike. There's always good stuff to stand in. But yeah, they're both great ults. Or heroics. I like them a lot. 13 TBK.
This is the one I probably waffle on the most. I normally will go with either Aldor Peacekeeper or Velen's Chosen. So Aldor Peacekeeper is enemy heroes hit by Vindication at max charge deal 30% less damage for 3 seconds. Boom. That's an AoE. You deal less damage as long as it's fully charged up.
Mm-hmm.
And so this tier can actually change around a little bit how you use your D as well, because I talked earlier about normally now using my D for my E jump just because of how much damage it does. But when you go Aldor Peacekeeper, you can use your D a lot more now for your Q as well, to guarantee that 30% less damage for 3 seconds in an AoE around you. And the other thing I go is Velen's Chosen. And this one's pretty big too, because if you hit an enemy hero with a basic ability at max charge, so any of the 3, you gain 10% spell power for 10 seconds up to 30%. And remember, this is for ability damage and for healing as well. So this can actually stack up to be quite a bit. And 10 seconds is a long time for your reset as well, to reset that 10 seconds and get that extra 20%, that extra 30%. And so this, I normally will then again use my D for my E attack, because that's even more damage on top of the already buff damage when you land your Avenging Wrath. So
Yeah.
this is situational to me.
Yeah. And again, they're all solid. Question, though, I think I know the answer to this one, but I haven't tested it myself specifically. Does Velen's Chosen at 13 stack with Gift of the Naru at 4? Like, does the bonus spell power also heal your nearby allied hero more?
Because healing is considered spell power, and ability damage is considered spell power. So you're basically buffing everything but your auto attack when you get that spell power bonus.
Yeah, checks out. Fun fact about this tier 2, all of these talents on 13 are Hearthstone cards. And shout out, Velen's Chosen is an awesome Hearthstone podcast where they recently had a big discussion about gaming addictions. That was pretty incredible. So check them out.
Interesting.
You weren't interested in that. I could hear it in your voice.
Interesting.
Oh, very cool.
I don't want to hear people talk about how I'm addicted to games. Gosh, I'm just kidding. That's a hot topic right now.
My whole life. Anyway.
I agree on this. I think Aldor Peacekeeper is the go-to in most situations. This is two talents kind of doing the same thing in different ways, which happens frequently, and giving your team more sustain. Velen's Chosen also does give you more damage potentially, yes, but as the utility warrior, if it's the ideal situation, I think Aldor Peacekeeper is definitely the way to go.
Yep.
I was trying to think of more ways to argue with you on that one, and I can't. So, level 16, multi.
16, couple options yet again. Let's first highlight Holy Wrath, though. After casting a basic ability, Irel's next basic attack splashes for 30% increased damage around the target. It's got the highest pick rate on Heroes Hearth, and I mean, it's just generally doing even more splash damage, which, before the recent buffs, one of our complaints with Irel in general is that she just didn't do a lot of it. But this does. I mean, it takes what honestly is pretty decent wave clear. Like, after the buff especially, it seemed like if you really are churning through your abilities, you can kind of clear that wave now. Takes that to the next level. Also, again, I haven't specifically tested it, but do we know once more if it's scaling with? I imagine it has to be scaling with a lot of these other things.
Well, the big thing is Irel has a very high basic attack damage.
Right.
She just does not have a very fast attack speed. So what this does is it applies her basic attack damage plus a splash plus 30% increased damage around the target.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is a huge amount of damage that you can pull off from this.
We've seen a lot of splashing talents where it splashes for less.
Yeah, and
by
this
design.
is one that splashes for more.
So, I mean, there's some logic to slapping that tank so that you do more damage to, I don't know, another melee next to them, perhaps.
And we already talked about how we're using our abilities a lot anyways and weaving these auto attacks in. So this honestly stacks with Maraud's insight really, really well, because you need to get that auto attack off anyways for the heal between your basic abilities. So this just guarantees your next basic attack after each casting a basic ability will get that splash damage in.
Right. Checks out. We've got some other talents, though, on this tier that are definitely still pretty good. Templar's Verdict, Righteous Hammer reduces the armor of enemy heroes hit by 20 for 4 seconds. I again, will never truly poo-poo on any talents that do armor reduction, because that just opens up the chance for your team to turn around and burst them down. And in a way, too, like when you've gotten off a really good hammer with your W there, the Righteous Hammer, you've kind of like set up what that target's going to be anyway. Like if you've pushed, for instance, a backline hero forward after jumping in, that's something that I would think most teams would just leap on. It kind of reminds me of how Diablo sometimes just chooses the target that even the most uncoordinated teams go for because he just got the perfect overpower into Shadow Charge. If you get the perfect knockback on that, they know that's who they're going for, and they've got the 20 reduced armor. So I mean, that's all the more incentive. So I like that one. I played around with that one quite a bit too. And then the other one that we just want to shout out here anyway is, of course, Divine Favor. Casting a basic ability reduces the cooldown of Divine Purpose by 1.5 seconds. So it changes up your hit cycle, at least in the sense that you can get more of the instant ones off, and is also just not bad. It's, again, just a pretty good tier all around.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of surprised that Holy Wrath has as high as a pick rate as it does. I do think it's a good talent, but 82% on Hero's Hearth is a little
Notice the
nuts to me.
82% is identical to Murad's Insight.
Yeah.
It is also on all of the top builds on Hot Slogs.
That's a little crazy to me. A little crazy.
It is, in a way, the hottest slog.
But I am 99% of the time going Templar's Verdict, again, for that Righteous Hammer. Stacks well with Righteous Momentum to me. And again, as a utility tank, when I'm playing her, my role is to give my team sustain and assist in the fights. So if I can jump back, knock someone forward, even if it is, even if they're a heavy frontline team, if they have a squishier frontline, like a Thrall or Malthel or something, like it's just boom, kill that person.
Or even a tank. I mean,
yeah, you can do it tanks too, but
you
Don't
wanna
need
be
utility
tanked,
when you're killing them and they're dead.
that's not being a team player. It's not being a team.
I'm being
player.
a perfect team player because I am spreading my damage love around to their entire team.
I don't know. But yeah, I like Templar's Verdict. And then level 20 here is going to be another situational thing. I'll start out with my favorite one here first, and that is Word of Glory. If you go Ardent Defender at 10, this makes it where it heals nearby allied heroes for 100% of the healing received by Yrel. So if you haven't guessed yet, my theme for my build is Team Sustain. By giving armor and healing with this, it's great for those late game team fights. Just gives your team a bunch of healing there. It's really nice. That's what I like. What do you guys like?
If they attack you when it's up,
you can again.
Also,
You can find
nearby.
things to attack.
Sometimes
you can always.
I'm
find
just saying it
things to
has some
attack you.
conditions.
it does have some conditions.
You can always find damage.
It is a really good one though. Like you can definitely, especially on maps around a lot of objectives where there's big clumps of team fighting, it can be very good. Hollow Ground is kind of cool as well. Like I said, with the more reliance on using your trait to use Avenging Wrath, this actually moves your Sacred Ground with you. Because remember, there's no actual cooldown on Sacred Wrath or on Hollow Ground once it's down. And so as long as you stay in it, it's going to stay with you. So now, just bring it with you. Why not? Just bring it with you. And then finally, Seraphim. This is just another one of those activate to become unstoppable for 2 seconds. Like, this is the very high-level pro stuff that we've seen. HGC loves unstoppable talents. And then this shows you just how ridiculous the new Raynor talent is, because he gets unstoppable for 2 seconds on a 12-second cooldown and reduces his Hyperion cooldown.
What's this cooldown on
And
Seraphim?
raises movement speed and auto attacks, and he gets a free auto attack off when he presses it.
Yep.
What's the cooldown on Seraphim?
That's a good question.
Like 30 seconds?
I
Probably?
don't remember
20
off the top of
seconds?
my head. It's probably 20 or 30 seconds.
Makes sense.
Still
That's
useful.
what most of those are.
And I mean, again, one of the problems with Yrel is that if CC'd in some ways, slowed some of the others, she does suffer a bit, and this helps prevent a lot of that. Gets you in position for everything else.
Gives you
you're
enough
doing.
time to fully charge an ability without being able to be interrupted from it.
Yeah. Oh, and don't take Bubble Hearth because then you'll be a dirty vanilla ally who just does it all the time when you try to gank him. That's annoying.
So last minute thoughts for me here. Actually, before we do that, because there's a lot of discussion, clearly kind of go through your builds, your guys' builds, and then I'll go through mine. So TBK.
I was just looking up the Seraphim. It's got a 10-second cooldown.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's crazy.
Okay, which I mean makes sense because Raynor's is a 12-second cooldown.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. According to Heroes Fire, it's a 10-second cooldown. So mine would be Maraud's Insight, and then Gift of the Naru, Samara's Light, Situational, Heroic, depending on what's going on. Either Velen's Chosen or Aldor Peacekeeper, depending on what you're doing. And then probably
Holy Wrath.
Holy Wrath. Yeah. I really like the AoE melee attack. And then, again, situationally, level 20, depending on what's going on.
Possibly
but
Seraphim.
either of the heroic ults are good. And then a 2 seconds of Unstoppable on a 10-second cooldown is, of course, really good. So,
Okay. And then my build here again is for this build, kind of a utility warrior. Going to be going. I'll say Dauntless if it's a auto attack heavy team. I'm just gonna say that because you guys know Maraud's Insight. You can take that too. Aegis of Light, Holy Avenger, Ardent Defender, Aldor Peacekeeper, Templar's Verdict, and then Word of Glory or Seraphim. Now, last minute things for Urel. So, again, you got to give her some time to get used to her. And then once you figure out her kit, every game is going to be different depending on what the enemy team has. As far as CCs and stun, you kind of learn when they use those and on you. And so to kind of adjust your rotation or fake outs, whatever, try and draw out the CC. And the bigger thing for me here is I think she does have several different builds. People are going to throw out the lane or the term like a solo lane build a lot. And I made this mistake too on my build on Heroes Hearth as a solo lane build. I think the utility build can work great in solo lane. She can soak. She can not win a lane with that build, but she can still have great sustain in it. She's just not going to be, have fast wave clear or anything like that or be getting kills. But the solo lane stuff is important for Braxis Holdout, Dragonshire. That's stuff where it's going to be you by yourself for a really long time, and you do want to kind of win that lane. And that changes her play style greatly. But I was going to say something else, but I forgot. You guys got anything?
I'm kind of building off what you said in the way that you're wanting to be tracking what types of CC and essentially like how good your opponents are at getting it off on you. Because I have found that, again, I think it's because she's probably going to be categorized more in the support tank role than just like a straight up main tank. She's not that tanky. I mean, you can do stuff to get her there, and she's got the sustain. She's got a lot of things going for her. Great movement as well. Something we've kind of undersold there. The fact that you can just use the E or some of the talents to escape pretty well can be good. But I have found that if you are CC'd in just the right way, I've had quite a few games where like they just land the perfect stun or something, and then I go from half health to dead, just done. And maybe that's just poor positioning on my part. I'll admit that. But at the same time, the point is, you have to be able to both get in there with her and get your abilities off, do your thing, peel for your teammates as well as you can anyway, with perhaps the W for a knockback and that sort of thing. But you also have to be careful. Like, she's not so tanky that you can just dive the back line and go, all right, cool, I'm going to hit everyone with hammers and stuff, and then just kind of die. And similarly, if you're playing against Nirel, I would argue as well that although, yes, if she absorbs a lot of your damage in a team fight, she's kind of tanking you. She's not that tanky either. not in the true main tank sense anyway. And so sometimes it's okay to get a few more abilities off on her to try to put her down, get out of your face.
Yeah, it's
But
kind of like if you can interrupt her and get her down quick, you can kill
yeah,
her.
she
But
drops.
if you're poking at her, it's just she's gonna stand there and laugh, and it's
That's a good
annoying.
point.
It's
That's a
super
good point.
annoying. TBK, you got anything?
I think I mentioned most of my big tips while we were going through the build.
Yeah,
Just give her time. Give her lots of time.
Yeah,
She
don't be
takes
discouraged
time to
either.
learn. Yes, she takes lots of time to learn, and definitely don't be discouraged because quick match can be very unkind to her.
yes,
Depending on your comps stuff. She shines much better in a drafting scenario, no question, or in a pre-built quick match team.
I agree 100%. It's funny because I didn't buy Yrel until mid last week because I was saving up gold for her. And as I was playing her through the week, after like my first three games, I messaged our group and I was like, guys, I hate her. Like, I do not want to play her. This is dumb.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
And then like 2 games later, I was like, okay, I'm starting to get her. So and I'm continuing to learn stuff with her every game I play with her. It really is, in my opinion, a brilliant design gameplay wise by Blizzard. I don't know yet if it 100% hit the mark, and we'll kind of have to wait and see. Give it more time, see if she makes any appearances in HGC. I think people are starting to come around to her. Or I shouldn't say any appearances, but more appearances in the HGC. I think people are starting to come around to her, and it's really is kind of a breath of fresh air on hero design in a way I don't think a lot of people ever really thought about a hero working. So it's good stuff.
I think she is at least fun. Like, I mean, competitive viability, we will see, of course. But regardless, like she is. I haven't had a game really win or lose that I didn't have a good time on her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a fun, active kit where you're doing stuff.
It's very active. Yeah,
You know, it's a cool playstyle.
for sure. All right, long episode.
Yes.
I really wasn't actually expecting that, but it turned out to be one. TBK. Let's move on to community content here. I know you're excited about this.
I am pretty excited about this.
And yeah, take it away.
This has been quite a while. I've had this on the burner for a little while, but today I released my new map concept, and it is called Stormwind Assault. It is a Warcraft map that is actually not based off of any existing Warcraft battleground, and I really like it. Wouldn't mind seeing it in game. I need a map editor really bad, Blizzard. Please let me do things in game. It is a 3-lane battleground where the Horde is assaulting Stormwind itself. The map will take place on basically a half Horde, ruined, fortified Stormwind, with the top half being the Alliance in their fortified position, trying to drive the Horde back outside of the gates. It has a kind of an interesting mechanic that really isn't present completely in any Heroes map so far. The whole objective is basically something called supply. And at several points throughout the map, either one or two of these supply areas will activate, and then you will have to go and fight over them to get supply for your team. Its supply is kind of like Blackheart's chests. You hit them to drop the supply, hero run over it, you pick it up. Although it will drop a lot more supply than and have more health than a Blackheart's chest actually is. And then basically you will go back to your base and you will turn in that supply at one of two places to summon different types of recruitment. So you can summon Wolf Riders to a lane that will clear the lane quickly with an AoE cleave attack, but maybe not be as good against actually pushing buildings down. Or you can summon a basically battering ram to go that will not be good at clearing lanes, but will be great at pushing actual forts and keeps down. And then while you're turning the supply in, you will be building up a third objective that will summon a boss after so much supply has been turned in automatically. That is a giant siege tank that will do some shots towards your first building and then go and battering ram the stuff down. So it's what I call an escalation map, where basically the teams are fighting over stuff, and the push will it's very a push oriented map. There's a lot of PvE objectives, but it's not like Black Hearts in the fact that you can just win by PvE. And that's my biggest problem with Black Hearts, and something that I thought about a lot while I was designing this, and that you will need to support all of your units. So it is a very push but team fight oriented battleground. And I really like the theme too. I think it'd be cool to have like a city theme.
One issue I have with it though is like, what's the objective for the Horde to win? Because they can't.
I was going to say, my favorite thing about this
burning all
has
Stormwind.
Has Stormwind ever
the...
been assaulted? Because I'm pretty sure we've sieged Orgrimmar before.
Yeah, but there was a change in leadership, and both factions were going. I mean, there's a lot of.
I
did write up a little lore piece.
I'm just saying,
actually.
And what does the Alliance?
It goes with the map.
Who?
That will explain all of this.
What does the Alliance summon? Because we don't ride wolves.
Doesn't matter. You don't summon anything. You just sit down and get sieged.
You just sit down and die.
Yes. It's a very snowbally map in the Horde.
Yeah.
That's right. You summon cavalry.
Okay.
Cavalry riders.
All right. Okay, I got you.
Gotcha. I like it. I specifically like the what was it called one more time? The escalation style. That as you build up and build up and build up, you get bigger and better stuff. We talked about that a little bit before the show too. I think that's something they could explore.
Yeah, for sure. I can dig it.
Yeah. We'll have the link if you want to check out the whole description and lore and whatnot. Of course, the link will be to the hero. It'll be on Heroes Hearth, or the link will be in the show notes, lordsofthestorm.libsyn.com, where of course you can find all of our show notes.
Yeah, and we should pin that in our Discord as well, the link for easy access.
I agree.
That is going to do it for this week's super short show.
Is that it? I mean, I feel like we should just talk about more stuff, because this is going to be a super short episode otherwise.
Yeah.
Let's talk about WoW.
We need
some
filler
more.
content.
Yeah.
So, what for sure you guys rolling and beat? I'm just kidding. So for the emails, we didn't have any questions this week, and that is okay, because we're starting to run low on time, to be fully honest, and we probably wouldn't have gotten to them anyway.
Yep. I like how we always use the term "we're running out of time." It's like,
when there's no real time limit.
Yeah,
I did tell my wife I was going to put the dogs out at 11. We were going to time it, and then it texted her midway through. I was like, I'll just go ahead and feed them when I'm done. So,
okay, fair enough. Well,
that's
before
my only time constraint, really.
Before we do get out of here, why don't you tell people where we can be reached?
Oh, you can find us on the social medias. That is Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and then also Patreon, actually, at Lords of the Storm, which is, again, anyone that has given any amount or even thought about it, we thank you for Patreon support. If you want to join us in-game, type that /join space LOTS, or you can join our Discord, bit.ly/lotsdiscord. And you can email us feedback or questions, and hopefully next week we'd actually have time to go through them. Lords of the Storm at outlook.com, and if you have just a quick second to leave a review, I'm going to call out iTunes specifically. You don't even have to write anything. If you just did the stars rating, I'd probably take you a couple seconds there, and we really appreciate it.
For sure. You can also find us individually, myself on Twitter at Gizmozord, as well as my stream at twitch.tv/Gizmozord, where I'm playing lots of heroes and also doing a playthrough of Ori and the Blind Forest right now. And then as well as Convert to Raid Presents the BattleNet News, which is the show about all Blizzard things, heavily focused on the WoW. Multi, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Multizord, and then also on another show called Hearth Casual, a show about Hearthstone. And unfortunately, with the holiday rescheduling things, we weren't able to really do it this week. Ro's still going to do the Brawl breakdown for you guys, of course. But it actually times out pretty well. I mean, I hate to skip another week in a row, but rumor has it that we could be getting a bit of an expansion announcement next week for Hearthstone. So it would make sense to have that be the week that we do a full episode anyway. So it checks out.
You know, it's crazy to me now that I don't play Hearthstone how fast the expansions seem to come.
Well, they did ramp it up. They changed it up to 3 per year instead of like 2 in an adventure and such. So
yeah, well,
it's by design.
When I was playing Hearthstone a lot, it seemed like I was in it, and so I don't know, it seemed to make just things seem longer. But now that I haven't played it, it's just like every time
That's
I consider it, it's
if
like
you're in on a meta and like really know that set and what people are playing and stuff. Because for me, it does kind of feel like it's been a while.
Well,
and
not to extend the show, especially off something off topic, but that's something for me on Hearthstone that actually might be a detriment, because every time I consider like getting back into it, it's like, oh well, now something else is coming out. Might as well just wait till that, and then I'm further and further behind. Anyways, have me on Hearth Casual. We'll talk about it. TBK, where can you be found?
Okay.
We're a WoW and a Hearth. We might as well just be like a general Blizzard podcast.
Yeah,
Blizzard news
this time.
podcast,
Yeah.
yes.
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord and on Heroes Hearth as well, where I do interviews for HGC as well as blog posts for hero concepts, Mac concepts, all that sort of stuff.
All right.
Can we just start doing X-rated Blizzard news like Lagging Balls does? Because that sounds great.
Okay. Sure. I'm going to hit that
Okay.
button so we can get out of here before we start talking about other random stuff. Special thanks to our patron producer, Ouroboros Sword, for helping support the show, as well as Wicked Kitten, our mod in chat. We will see you all same time, same place next week, Wednesday. Not same time, same place. Regular time, same place next week, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central. Have a good one, everyone.
Enough. I shall do no more.
Whew. That is officially our longest episode.